Hi everyone, welcome. We're just going to give a few seconds to let everyone join, make sure that everyone has ample opportunity to hear the great things that Danielle has to say. So we're just going to give it a few more minutes for give more people chance to join.
Yeah, I think everybody's in. I think we can actually start.
Okay, awesome. Welcome everyone to Danielle's book launch. It's an amazing feat for Danielle to have published her first book. I did, but I'm done. Danielle, we're gonna jump straight into it. We're very proud of you. And Danielle, just give us a little bit of a background of who you are, what you stand for.
Okay, so firstly, I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. My name is Danielle Hayward, as many of you hopefully know. I'm the founder of Justice in Heels, a brand committed to educating South Africans on the law. And I'm a BCom Law and LLB Law graduate. I'm also a cat mom and the wife to the most amazing husband in the entire world.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Danielle. You sound like an accomplished woman. So we're going to jump straight in with questions about your new book. We're very excited about it. So what inspired you to write this book?
So, a few years ago, I started volunteering at two nonprofit organizations. And I see Chantal Morrison is also here on the Zoom today. So she has silent rights, and I started volunteering as a legal volunteer. And we helped a lot of people who were victims or are victims of domestic violence. So we gave them advice to get protection orders, also provided some emotional support. And then I really just realized that a lot of people don't really know, firstly, their legal rights. And also, a lot of people don't really know that, especially divorce, is not only about the legal aspects, there's also a lot of emotional aspects that surround divorce. And then this one particular lady actually asked me, listen, but you have so much knowledge about divorce and you've really helped me to not only navigate this process legally, but also emotionally and how to heal. So then she asked me, why don't you just write a book? And at that stage, I said, no, I don't think I'll write a book, maybe in a few years. Um, because, imposter syndrome is a big thing, especially for me. So at that stage, I didn't feel up to it. And then this year in June, I helped another person and they said exactly the same thing. And that just made me realize that, you know what, maybe I have something to say. Maybe I can help a few people. And I started writing the book and the rest is history. You're muted.
Sorry. That's really, really a testimony to share. That's amazing that you help domestic violence victims and help those going through divorce to understand the process a little bit better. But Danielle, what makes your book different to other divorce guides that are out there currently?
So I've read a lot of the divorce books out there because I wanted to do my research and I wanted to see what is out there already. And what I've noticed is that there's not a lot of books from a South African standpoint. So most of the books are written by people in the United States or maybe people in the UK. And that just made me realize that we really have a need for a divorce guide here in South Africa. And I mean, also, if you look at a lot of content that a lot of the content creators in South Africa post about divorce, they focus mainly on the legal aspect, or they will mainly focus on the financial aspect, or they will mainly focus on the emotional aspect, which is great because, I mean, you stick to what you know. But I think that there was a need for a guide that addresses all of these different aspects of divorce in one book.
I agree with you 100% that there's definitely a need for an all-rounder type of guide to support our people going through divorce because it's a tough situation to go through. And is it just a book for people who are going through divorce right now, or can it be used in future?
That's a very good question. So the book is not only for people who are going through divorce right now. It's also for people who are considering divorce. So you're not sure, you're trying to figure out if you want to go forward with a divorce. It's also for people who are maybe already divorced and they are still trying to heal, or maybe people who are already divorced and they are co-parenting. And it's also for people who may have never actually married and thus did not go through a divorce, but they just want to maybe know more about co-parenting because maybe they have a child with someone and now they need to co-parent and they don't really know how to do it. And something that somebody actually told me, one of my beta readers, is that a lot of professional people can also read this book and maybe also get a bit of guidance. So, for example, I know there's a lot of candidate attorneys who contacted me and said, listen, I think I really want to read your book. I think it might give me a bit more guidance on how I can assist my clients. I've also had counselors and even what do you call it? Sorry, ministers contacting me and saying, listen, I want to read your book because I heard that there's like in the first chapter, there's a bit of like a Christian viewpoint of how you can make peace with the fact that you are divorcing and this is maybe not what your religion tells you to do. So this is actually a book that can benefit, and I hope it will benefit a lot of people in a lot of different journeys in their life.
That's so important. And I think a lot of people need that quiet guidance in their lives, to not really rely on counselors per se, but to go and sit and read in their spare time. Where did you get all the information that you share in your book?
So, firstly, so there's four sources where I actually mainly got all of the information. So, firstly, through my personal experience helping people in divorce, both legally, emotionally, with all of the aspects, and helping people with co-parenting. So, I worked for a company who focused mainly on divorce. It wasn't a law firm, it was a company who focused only on divorce. And I met a lot of great people there, and I also learned a lot about divorce. Then, secondly, I also got some information from my podcast. For those of you who do not know, I have a podcast called Justice in Heels, and I've interviewed a lot of interesting people and a lot of experts on different topics in divorce. So I've also got some information there. Then I've spoken to a lot of different other experts. So, for example, at the end of my book, I mentioned that I had an attorney, Jennifer Scholes, who is one of the top family law attorneys in Gauteng. I had her look at my book and also give me some feedback. And then I also had a coach called Gia Ann Bass. She also had a look at my book and she also gave me some feedback. And then I just did general research. So I went on the internet and I looked at what a lot of other people are saying about divorce. I read all of the books that I could find on divorce. I also mentioned a few people that I've met during my professional journey. People like uh, people like Dr. Annika Zina, who is a therapist who is based in the UK, and she actually focuses on narcissistic abuse and how you can heal from narcissistic abuse. So what I also did was I also took some information from previous discussions that we actually had on this topic or the different topics surrounding divorce. And I also placed that into the book. So I really consulted a lot of different sources to make sure that this book addresses all of the questions that people may have when going through a divorce.
I think for a lot of people, it's very reassuring that you did such great research when writing your book, because it's not just a guide you've written on a whim, it's a properly researched, reviewed book. And Danielle, is there any chance you can share a summary of all the chapters that you have in your book?
Definitely. But I just want to go back to what you said just now about research. So that's also one of the things that I really wanted my book to actually do. I wanted it to be like really well researched. I didn't want it to be something that I am writing out of my own, viewpoint, because I've never been divorced. My parents are divorced, and I've dealt with a lot of people who went through divorce. But what I've noticed is a lot of people really focus on themselves and they keep on hammering on how great they are. And that was something that I did not want to do with my book. So, yeah. And then on to your next question, the summary of the book. I'm just going to quickly grab my phone because I just want to have my notes here. So, chapter 1 is completely about should you divorce. So, it is deciding whether you want to divorce. And then, if your partner told you that they want a divorce, how to decide if you really want to go through with it, or if you want to maybe try and persuade them to give the marriage another try. So, in that chapter, I also deal with how do you tell your parents that you are getting a divorce? How do you tell your spouse that you actually want a divorce if you are the one who wants to institute this divorce? Then I also dealt with how to choose a coach or a counselor or a therapist if you decide to work on your marriage. Then chapter 2 is navigating emotions in divorce. So here I mentioned all of the different stages of divorce that everybody goes through. So a lot like with trauma, we see that people generally move through 5 distinct stages of grief, and they will start at one and then they will, go forward and then they will go back again. So it's one of those things. But I also explain the emotional stages of divorce in a lot of detail. Then I also deal with how to forgive your ex, how to forgive yourself, and then just general self care tips that you can follow to make sure that you don't burn out, that you are looking after your mental health because it is a very stressful time in your life. And then chapter 3 is all the legalities and financial planning in your divorce. So it is the different grounds that people can ask for a divorce on. It's things like forfeiture of assets in divorce, spousal maintenance, and then something that is really close to my heart, domestic violence. If you are maybe in a marriage where you are the victim of domestic violence and you want to get a divorce, because then generally your steps will be a bit different. And then chapter 4 deals with co-parenting entirely. So basically, what is co-parenting? When does co-parenting work? When does co-parenting not really work? What should you do to when your spouse perhaps moves on and they get a new partner? What should you do to look after the mental health of your children and to make sure that they are okay? What can you do when you are maybe not the fun parent? And what can you do if you are the fun parent and your children don't really want to see the other parent? And then the very last chapter is a very short chapter, but it deals with your life after divorce. So, how do you move on? How do you decide if you are ready to start dating again? What should you take into account when starting dating again? Uh, Also, how to be aware of sweetheart scams, which is something that is increasing in South Africa, especially. And then lastly, I also write about cohabitation, which you would know, Casey, is not something that is legally recognized in South Africa, but a lot of people think that it is. So that is the book in a nutshell.
Wow, that is a lot of work. We're very, very, very proud of you. Wow, that's amazing. Are there any hard copies available, or is it only in ebook format?
So at this stage, I am only releasing the book in soft copy, so the ebooks. Maybe in the future, if I get enough support, I will be able to print a few hard copies.
I really, really hope we can get to a stage to get you some hard copies of this book. That'll be awesome. And then tell me, how can readers connect with you if they have any further questions or need guidance in terms of anything with regard to your book or the contents in your book?
So they are welcome to send me an email. My email address is justiceinheels@gmail.com, and they can also connect with me on YouTube, on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
Awesome. I think when we're done, we'll just share a poster of all your socials so that everyone knows where you are. And then how does one go about buying the book?
So at this stage, I don't have a website that allows me to sell the book on there yet. So if you are interested in buying the book, it's 200 Rand. And how it works is you just send me an email to justiceinheels@gmail.com, and I will then send you an invoice. You can make payments and I will send it to you directly. I also just want to mention that this book is not only for people in South Africa, even though the legalities or the legal aspects and the financial aspects focus only on South African law, the emotional aspects and the co-parenting aspects also can also be relatable to people in other countries as well.
That's so great to hear. Like we said earlier, it's such an all-rounder book. Well done. And Danielle, lastly, just one last question. If you could leave the readers of your book with any piece of wisdom, what would it be?
Sure, that is a hard question. So I want everyone to just remember that divorce is not the end of the world. It may feel like that to you, but it's not. There's always a way and there's always like opportunities for you to rebuild your life again. So I think just keep looking forward. If you have children, focus on your children. Make sure that everything you do is in their best interests. Um, don't try to take revenge. They always say rotten fruit falls by itself. And yeah.
I think that's such great advice. And I think people who get divorced need to realize they're not alone in that situation. You know, there's a huge support structure. And I think your book specifically will give them that quiet guidance, you know, to sit after a long day and say, okay, I need to recap on this part of my divorce today. And I think you've really, really given people that opportunity. I want to thank you for your hard work and effort, Danielle. And I hope that this book is a success for you.
Thank you so much. And I really want to thank you for taking the time to be the host of this amazing book event. I really enjoyed answering all your questions.
Thank you very much for having me, Danielle, and thank you everyone for joining. It was a really, really great time with you tonight, Danielle. And tell me, is this video going to be uploaded anywhere for anyone to see?
Yes, so I will be uploading this video to YouTube. And I just want to mention, I did say that I will be giving away 2 free copies of the ebook. So I just want to announce the winners. Who's the winners? Let me see here. So there's a Nina. So if Nina can just stay behind after this recording, and then also Chantal Morrison. Yay!
That's great. That's awesome. Congratulations to our winners. I hope you really enjoy the beautiful book that Danielle has put together for you. And thank you again, Danielle. Nina, if you can just stay afterwards so we can get your contact details to provide you with a copy of I Did, But I'm Done. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great evening.
Bye.